Hello, friends. Kurt Berglund with a response to a subscriber question and inquiry. And it's JJ, one of my subscribers, has asked me because I was talking in one of my videos about players that didn't get their due, players that flew under the radar for whatever reason, maybe didn't get all of the recognition that I think they deserved. And JJ asked me, well, would you have a team of those that you could put together? And I do requests, so I did just that. I thought about it, put together a team of players that I think have been or did not get their due. Most of these, and the time frame was during my lifetime. So I'm 55 years old. I was born in 65. So over the last 55 years, you had to have been active to make my did not get his due team, the underrated team. And that's it. So as long as you're active in that period, you're eligible to make this team. So with all of that said, I have a baseball cards to show you of each of the players that are on this team for me. If you have thoughts about my team that I put together or players that you would put on your team, write them in the comments below. Let's talk about players that we think maybe have been under-recognized for whatever reason. And I'm going to start with my manager of my all under-recognized team, a guy that I think got more than anybody else would have gotten out of his group of players for a few different franchises, actually. I had a couple contenders for this, but ultimately I settled on Bill Rigney as the manager of my all underrated team. And with the Angels, certainly he took a second-year expansion team and had them in the playoff race for almost all of 1962. Then he had the Twins, who were good but not great, and won division titles with them. So I just think he's an amazing manager, or was an amazing manager, and he is my choice. My pitching staff, Jim Cott, who is a borderline Hall of Famer, but boy, he was really good for a really long time, and people don't remember him much, and I think that's too bad. He's an excellent left-hander with teams that maybe weren't in the hugest media markets, but was really good. And became well known during a lot of our lifetimes as a reliever, but as a starting pitcher, if you look up his numbers, wow. Here's one of the modern players that I think has gotten his due, but not to the level that he should, and that's Zach Greinke. I think this guy might be the pitcher of his generation, and both when you think about peak value and career value, this guy's been the real deal, and I don't think people talk about him nearly enough. What a wonderful career he's had. This is just a cool card. I think Vita Blue got his due, but I think Topps outdid themselves with this one. Just wanted to show you that one. Here's another borderline Hall of Famer who I would personally put in. Louis Tiant came back from a lot of stuff, injuries, was basically forgotten about in the Red Sox organization until Daryl Johnson, Eddie Casco, and then Daryl Johnson found spots for him. He was unbelievable with the Indians for a while. Had a long, effective career. Just an amazing pitcher, and does not get his due. This guy, I think you could make a case, was the pitcher of the 60s over the bigger names. if you look at his numbers, pretty amazing. And yeah, he's a Hall of Famer, but do people really remember and appreciate how incredible Juan Marichal was for a really long time? This guy I just love. I don't know that he's underappreciated, but what's not to love? And I'm not even talking about the Carlos Correa thing, but let's do it. Wow. Standing up for what is right. That alone. Relief pitchers don't get their due ever, I don't think, unless your name is Mariano Rivera. This guy almost started it. There were a few others before him, but people don't recognize how incredible he was for how long and how much his role dominated games. I mean, they'd bring him in the 6th, 7th inning and say, finish it. Okay. Incredible. Roy Face. My favorite under-recognized relief pitcher, Tug McGraw. Really good for a really long time. And I don't think it's understood how incredible he was for a decade and a half, really, of excellent pitching. All right, now come the position players. One is a current or a modern player, very modern player, from his salad days, maybe in the Toronto Blue Jays. It's Russell Martin, one of the catchers on my underrated team. Really good for a long period of time, but doesn't have a last name of Molina, and leader on his team, effective offensively, excellent defensively. This guy's known as a multi-position player, Mickey Tettleton. I don't think got his due. Big time power, could play a lot of spots. Not awful defensively behind the plate. Clearly an offensive player and a big impact guy, switch hitter. Lots to like, and a huge on base percentage. Lots to like here, but not really recognized as much as he should have been. This guy had one of the most difficult jobs in the 60s, and I'm not talking about keeping buffet lines in business. Smokey Burgess was a pinch hitting specialist for the White Sox, and one of the first in that particular modern role. Other people had it before he did, but none on this level, to the point where they told him not to bring a glove to the park anymore. He was just a bat. And, of course, restaurants everywhere loved to see him at their door. My favorite all-time player, I think, is underappreciated, Bill Buckner. This is his rookie card with an autograph. Kind of nice. 2,700 hits, 2 World Series appearances, a devastating ankle injury where he turned his foot 3/4 of the way around and came back with rehab and hard work, talent. Bill Buckner. Could say a lot more. Just an incredible player. Second baseman on my all underrated team, Tony Taylor. Could play a lot of positions and help you. Could hit leadoff if you wanted him to. Great player that people forgot about. The shortstop on my all underrated team could also play a lot of positions, Ben Zobrist. Ben Zobrist was an outfielder, a second baseman, a shortstop, could play third, and not hurt you anywhere defensively, usually helped you, and could hit both sides of the plate, switch hitter, steal bases for you. What's not to like? This is the third baseman on my all underrated team, Darrell Evans. Not hugely known or appreciated before he got to the Tigers, had some big years with Detroit in the 80s, but was already an impact player with the Braves in the 70s and the Giants in the late 70s and early 80s. Big time power. Could even play some shortstop for you in a pinch. On base, drew walks, middle of the order. Who remembers? All right, the rest of my team is made up of outfielders because there are so many that have been underrated, I think. First one is from mostly the 60s. His career kind of tanked, but at his peak, he was really good. Johnny Callison could hit from the left side of the plate. Big time throwing arm in right field. Great defender. Clutch performer. Game-winning home run in the 64 All-Star game off of Dick Raddatz, who at that time was the relief pitcher in baseball. Center fielder for the 61 Reds, the Reds teams in the 70s, in the late and throughout the 60s and into the 70s with the Angels, Vada Pinson. Big-time defender, clutch left-handed batter, had a lot of good seasons in a decade that it was tough to hit, and that depressed his numbers, but I think Vada Pinson is a great one. Boston Red Sox right fielder Dwight Evans. I think he's a Hall of Famer. Long career and very, very productive offensively from the late 70s throughout the entire 80s. He may be the best defensive right fielder I ever saw, and that counts Dave Parker in his prime. Great throwing arm. Career highlight might have been making that catch in Game 6 of the 75 series that basically saved the series for the Red Sox at that time. Power, on base, could hit leadoff, could hit fourth. Amazing player. This guy might be better known for what his son accomplished than what he accomplished, but I think Bobby Bonds has been forgotten for no good reason. Incredible power, speed numbers, could defend, could play center, could play right, big time throwing arms, steal bases, drew walks, hit home runs. Yeah, he had his demons. Name somebody that doesn't. Great player. Here's another one who just made my timeline, Jim Landis, whose career was ending just as I was achieving toddler status, but what a wonderful defender in center field. Could hit. I think might have been the real MVP of the 59 Go-Go White Sox in terms of the offense that he produced and the incredibly important center field defensive position. Could throw, a lot of range, got on base, could steal you a base, occasional power. Jim Landis, excellent player. Jimmy Wynn was a wonderful player with a lot of bad Houston teams and then some mediocre Houston teams in the 70s. Made his way to the Dodgers, got a World Series in 74, hurt his elbow and never really recovered from that. But what a great player. Another power speed guy, could play center, could play left or right. In his prime, good throwing arm, power, walks, stealing bases. This guy would be good in any era. Big time talent level. Jimmy Wynn. This guy I think is a Hall of Famer, but the standards have changed and he might not get in now. It doesn't look like he will. Dale Murphy. Two-time MVP. Wonderful defender, big-time throwing arm, could catch, could play first, could play center, could play right or left. Clutch hitter, a lot of RBIs, a lot of power, could steal bases. There's nothing he couldn't do. Struck out a lot for his era, but he wouldn't in today's context. So Dale Murphy, underrated in my opinion. Here's another guy, barely makes my timeline, but does get in. Rocky Colavito. Known for the Harvey Keene trade, but had some amazing years as a Indian and then a Tiger. Check out his numbers in 61. A part of a team that almost won the pennant from the Yankees. Colavito then went back to Cleveland and had a few more good years. Rocky, and a big-time throwing arm, Rocky Colavito. Here is a current player that I don't think is appreciated enough. Andrew McCutchen made his name for himself in Pittsburgh, which I think is part of the problem. Finishing things up with Philadelphia now, and is still a really good player. A lot of range. Good, not great, but a good throwing arm, power, could get on base, drew walks, good average, could steal bases, could get extra bases, doubles, triples. One of the premier players of his generation that I don't think gets mentioned enough. And in that same vein, and this one will be controversial, Charlie Blackmon. I know he gets propped up, his numbers get propped up by Coors Field, but you still got to hit the ball, and he does. Not a great defender, corner outfielder type, good arm, not great. Was out of place in Coors Field's center field expanse, but what a hitter. And I would take him on my team. He is underrated, in my opinion, and currently active. That's my team. Who do you like? Who do you not like? Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more of this, and let me know what your request would be to know about in my baseball opinion. Thanks again to JJ for the request. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you have a great day. So long, everybody.